All right, talking autograph baseballs, and I have a whole table laid out in terms of a number of different baseballs over time. Had the good fortune to be able to go to a lot of different games, or at home or on the road, as well as spring training a few times, in which Yankee players were rather approachable, as well as up in Cooperstown, especially since my son was playing ball as a young kid and now still playing college baseball. It was good to be able to get, these are just, you can buy baseballs and all that kind of stuff, but it's not about buying or collecting in that way. It's a lot of these have good stories around them, and this is one of them. So this is just be one dedicated just to Reggie Jackson. So certainly Reggie Jackson, Mr. October. Didn't want the Baby Ruth bar, ended up getting the Reggie bar. Imagine a guy had a candy bar named after himself, but Reggie, right? So Reggie was, a lot of people loved him, a lot of people hated him, right? Because he was one of those flashy players that wanted to let you know that he could win the game with one swing. And sure enough, story around behind the ball was that we went up to Cooperstown, myself and Drew, and for one of the Hall of Fame inductee ceremonies, and Reggie wasn't being inducted that year, but he was just kind of roaming around town. It was kind of late, and sure enough, I saw a bunch of people, cornering an individual, one of the players, and were signing autographs. And the closer I got, sure enough, it was Reggie Jackson. And ironically, he was up there in Cooperstown, and we got the autograph baseball. But the story behind, aside from getting the autograph, which was just right there on Main Street in Cooperstown, was that in 1977, I happened to be at Game 6 between the Yankees and the Dodgers. And in growing up in New York, who wouldn't want to try to get to a playoff or World Series game? And in those times, obviously no electronic means to be able to get tickets. It was a lottery or waiting online. That year, one of my friends, Mike Gottlieb, who I would practice a lot with, got to know Mike Gottlieb in high school when he played for Lynbrook. I played for rival East Rockaway, as well as Mike Baccio. Mike Baccio was an outfielder for Lynbrook, but nonetheless we hit a lot all the time during the summer and year round, and practicing before going on to our college careers, if you will. But nonetheless, this is a really kind of prized ball because, again, Reggie, well-known Yankee, although he did play for the A's, and there's some really great rivalries there when the Mets were playing the A's back in the old days. But nonetheless, staying back to Reggie and 77, a lot of interesting things there that Reggie had a lot of turmoil between himself and Steinbrenner, himself and the manager at the time for the Yankees, Billy Martin. And what was really cool, though, obviously, back to getting the tickets, we ended up thinking, oh, well, it'd be a better idea if we just go drive to the Bronx and fill out the form and put it in the Bronx post office. And literally right there on Grand Concourse in the Bronx, driving from Long Island in the middle of the night, we submitted our lottery, if you will, for the World Series. And we got 3 tickets to 3 games, Yankees-Dodgers, 1977. And this is a great memory for that as well, just because we ended up getting the lottery. Myself and Mike Gottlieb and my father went to a number of the games, including Game 6, which was the final game of the series with the Dodgers, in which we had tickets in the upper deck in left field, nosebleeds big time. And so it was one of those things where Reggie hits one home run, then the second home run's a whistling line drive to right field, and Yankees end up getting up ahead 8-3, and I think it was around 8-3. And in the bottom of the 8th, Reggie's going to get up again. At that point, we have a good sense that the Yankees are going to win this World Series. So we go from the upper deck down as close as we could to the field. And it's noteworthy for a couple of reasons. One, we're behind home plate, and Charlie Huff is going to pitch to Reggie. And Charlie Huff had that, knuckleball. And, well, if you look at the 1977 World Series on video, of which I ironically, amidst our all too much spare time these days, had a look at in the middle of the night the other night, Reggie hit it all the way into center field into the black. Now, remind you that in the new stadiums, they're 410, around 410 to center field. The old Yankee Stadium, it was 463 to center field, and at that time, Reggie put it into the black. That's the background of Yankee Stadium in center field, 475, and so Reggie with the home run there and was the MVP of the series against the Dodgers. A really great Dodger team with they had Ron Say and Steve Garvey and those kind of guys. But really, really cool game, and it also brought back memories to the fact that again, when you're talking about going to baseball games, the game obviously isn't as approachable these days. It's because there's a mob scene and people trying to get autographs for money, and the players in some ways do the best they can to try to be accessible to fans. But in the so-called older days, it was a lot easier. But this was an example up in Cooperstown where we were able to get Reggie Jackson's autograph on the street. But also noteworthy is just the fact that when a team wins the World Series, no one's going to get on that field. But if you go to the 1977 World Series video, you're going to see that there was legs hanging over the right field fence waiting for the final out. Not a lot of pushback from that happening. And then when the final out happened, there was just the sea of humanity or insanity getting onto the field, which was kind of crazy. And Reggie Jackson looking more like a football player coming right field and running all the way into the dugout. But nonetheless, Reggie Jackson, Mr. October for the New York Yankees.